Okay, and welcome to our first video on our spelling for this term. We're going to try and do something a little bit different this term with our spelling, and we'll try and make some really short videos about the etymology of some of our words, of our prefixes, where they come from, and how those history of the origins of those words influence the words that we see today. Before we start, if for those of you who might forget, when we talk about the etymology of words, we're talking what is etymology, and etymology is the study of the origin of words and the way in which their meanings have changed throughout history. So you can get a word today, if you trace that back throughout history, where does it come from? Does it come from Greek, Greek meaning, Latin, a whole bunch of different things that could come from, and what did it look like back then, and are there any ways that there's other words within the English language now that have been influenced by those things. So when I was going through some of the reading for this week, I saw the word circumnavigate, and it made me think that a good choice for our prefix of the week this week would be the word circ. C-I-R-C. Now the first thing that comes to my mind when I think is circle. Circular, circle, semicircle, all those sort of things. So I went on to the website that I use quite often, which is this one called Word Searcher, and I typed in all the words that have the word circ in it, and it came up down the side with 76 different words that have the word circ in it. Circumnavigation, circumspection, circumscription, circumferences, circumvent, a whole bunch of different there's so many of them, and they'll all end up having something in common, and all those words in some ways, even if it seems very small, will have meanings around where the history actually of that word came from. So now that we know there's 76 of those words, I decided to pick 6 of those words to look at for this week. We've got the word circa, circumnavigating, circumferences, circumventing, circumstance, and circulations. Now we might not necessarily get to go through all of them, but we'll see what we can do. But before we do that, we've got to figure out where this word actually comes from. What is the base of this word? Like, what does the base of this word circ mean? So by doing that, what I did was what we've done before, and I went into the online etymology website, and I typed in the word, circle, wherever it is. Nope. Now I can't find it. That's just obviously my luck. Okay, let's just type in here. Circle, etymology. And you'll see that the word circle originates from the word circus in Latin. I didn't know that. It comes from the word circus. That's a bit of a strange one. And circulus in Latin, which means small ring. So it seems to mean ring. So like the ring that you wear on your finger. So I thought, okay, I'll type in the word circus and see what happens with what happens when you look at circus. And the word circus actually came from the fact that they were the arenas that the Romans and the Latin the people who spoke Latin, used to do. The arenas where people used to perform were round shaped and were called a circus. It has nothing to do with the animals. It has to do with the shape of the place where they held those things. So the word circus effectively means a circle or a ring. So circus means like something that must be like round, like a ring. If it was a round shape and it was a ring shape, that was what was called a circus. So that's where it came from. So that kind of means that when I go back here, I can write that circ, the meaning comes from Latin or Greek, means basically comes from circus, which basically means a ring, like a ring shape something. Okay, that might help us when we go through. So we're going to take a little bit of a thing, and that kind of then transforms as we go into the idea that it's round. Everything that we're looking at today will pretty much relate to the idea of the round shape thing, or round in general. So let's look at the first one, circa. So when I type in on my online etymology website the word circa, it says about, at, or near a given date when the exact time is known. So let's say, if, like I said, when did you wear those crazy clothes you used to wear? It's probably around circa 2003, 2004. So basically, circa is an approximate date when it's approximate time where something happened. So how does that mean if we're talking about approximate or about the word here? So we're kind of like talking, if we're kind of guessing when it was, like circa with time, it was around that time. So the word round kind of comes into it. So when we look at it, the word circa, at, near, or near a given date. So around about. So it's kind of around then, right? Okay, great. So what about the next one? Circumnavigating. Where does that get its influences from? When I typed in, where is circumnavigate? I might have to do it again. Circumnavigate. Circumnavigate says to sail around or sail round, pass round by water. Okay, so it's basically that you're going around the whole thing. So if you said we're going to circumnavigate the island, it means you would go sail around the whole thing. So you can see once again, if you're sailing around or passing by the water, it's quite common that now we're getting to this idea that the circ thing basically means a lot of these words that have come from it have meant round. Why did that not happen? Okay, so this kind of common thread now going through it. What about circumferences? Okay, let's take that word, go to our online etymology dictionary, type it in. I don't know why the word through the 3 came up. Let's try that again. Circumference. I don't know why that's not coming up either. Okay, circumference. A line that bounds a circle, loosely any boundary. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out a way that that would be easier for you guys to understand. So let me go to Google and see what Google says for circumference. Circumference etymology. Okay, so it's a roundabout carrying something. Circumference comes from the idea of roundabout. Okay. A line that bounds a circle, loosely any boundary, so the whole way around a circle. So if we're measuring the distance of like the circumference of a circle, we're measuring all the way around the outside of that circle. What's the circumference of this oval? Oh, well, let's measure the distance around the whole thing. So once again, that round is coming through in that thing. So wait, well, let me see what it said. It said a line that bounds a circle, any boundary line, the outside of it. So let's write that in there. Perfect. Circumventing. Okay, I know what venting means. Venting means like to say how you're feeling. So I wonder whether circumvent has anything to do with that. Circumvention means the active outwitting or deception. Okay, so I don't know how deceiving someone would be round, right? I don't know, but if I typed in circumvent etymology in here, the one that they come up with, their derivation of the Latin words means Latin word for skirted around. So basically like you're deceiving someone by kind of like going around their back, like you're skirting around them. So even though you might not think that deceiving someone would be to do with the word round, circumvent actually means to skirt, or literally means from Latin to skirt around someone. So basically just to deceive them. So circumventing would be skirting around. Now I've got circumstance. Okay, circumstance. Let's see what happens with circumstance. Circumstance, if we go through here, meaning a person's surroundings or their environment. So if you said, what are your circumstances? So what are the things that are issues surrounding your environment? Okay. So basically, that's basically what it is. I mean, you can read into it. Sometimes it takes a lot to realize how the word round actually does relate to it. But if we can see a person's surroundings, so what are your circumstances right now? Well, my circumstances, the environment surrounding me right now is this. So once again, it does have, even if it does seem tricky sometimes, they do actually all have some reason why. Like I said, English language is not a mistake. Even though it's crazy sometimes, they all have a reason why. And circulation, you might actually be able to do this one without me. Circulation, I hear that with blood, right? So already I'm thinking your circulation would be the way that your blood that returns and beginning. So it's basically going around your body, yeah? So it's forming a circle. So it says here, process of changing something from one element into another. Okay, well that's not what I think. When I think circulation, I think your circulation is basically how well the blood is like going around your body. And if you have bad circulation, it means the blood's not pumping all around your body, and you might have your arm, if it's a bit dangerous, but the circulation's not very good. So circulation is basically that word about pumping around your body. So this is obviously, some of these definitions aren't necessarily what you would go with. But what I'm saying is that when you see this word circ, these words, circulation, circumstance, circumferences, one's about a circle, one's about blood pumping, one's about deceiving someone, one's about sailing, and one's about an approximate time, and they don't all feel like they have a relation to each other. But when you really look at it and you really go through some of those definitions, you realize that it's really amazing, because that does have heaps of different words that have come from that one thing, which I didn't know came from the word circus. If you'd asked me where the word circus, I'd say a bunch of animals running around doing tricks, but it actually has a deeper meaning than that. So I hope this has been interesting and useful for you. We're going to do some more of these as we go. Thanks for watching.